The 911 dispatcher's voice crackled through the recording that would later go viral. 911, what's your emergency? The response came immediately, high-pitched and breathless. This is a sexual emergency. I'm being denied my God-given right to swim freely. There was a pause before the dispatcher responded with professional confusion. Ma'am, did you say you're not wearing clothes? The caller's voice rose to a theatrical pitch. I am a sovereign lake spirit, Patricia of the Cove. This man is repressing me with pants culture. Standing on my deck at 6:42 in the morning, coffee mug frozen halfway to my lips, I watched in absolute disbelief as Patricia Hartwell, our HOA president, sprinted across my private dock, wearing nothing but a floral robe. She paused dramatically at the edge, threw her arms wide like she was conducting an invisible orchestra, tossed the robe aside with a flourish, and executed what could only be described as the world's most confident cannonball into Lake Meredith. The splash reached my deck 15 feet away. It was Tuesday, and I hadn't even finished my first cup of coffee. My name is Daniel Morrison, and I moved to Pine Ridge Shores specifically to avoid this kind of drama. After 20 years in corporate finance, dealing with hostile takeovers and billion-dollar mergers, I thought a quiet lake cabin would be the perfect place to decompress. I'd spend my mornings fishing for bass, afternoons reading military thrillers, and evenings watching the sunset from my dock. The Pine Ridge Property Protection Association seemed harmless enough when I bought the place. Sure, the acronym PRP sounded vaguely militant, but the dues were reasonable and the neighborhood looked well-maintained. Patricia Hartwell had been HOA president for 8 years when I moved in. At 64, she described herself as an ecstatic movement coach and retired insurance adjuster who had once successfully lobbied to ban decorative mulch because it disrupted the Earth's natural breathing patterns. She had two primary passions that seemed to define her entire existence: enforcing HOA regulations with the precision of a Swiss watchmaker, and what she called radical freedom practices, which apparently included seasonal nudity, lunar bonfires that violated at least 3 county ordinances, and very strong opinions about the oppressive nature of swimwear. The trouble started innocuously enough, as these things often do. 3 days after I moved in, Patricia appeared at my door with a loaf of zucchini bread and a laminated welcome packet thick enough to use as a doorstop. "Welcome to our conscious community," she said with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The packet contained 27 rules color-coded by severity. Most were standard HOA nonsense about grass height and mailbox specifications, but rule number 19 caught my attention. Swimwear must align with community values of minimal, optional, and empowering expression. I politely declined her invitation to sunset flow yoga, no mats, no judgment. The following week, she said with a concerned tone, "Daniel, isolation is the enemy of enlightenment." I told her I preferred my enlightenment with clothes on. Her smile tightened like a violin string about to snap. 2 days later, I received my first citation in the mail. Excessive shorts coverage observed during dock activities. Please review community guidelines regarding aquatic freedom. The citations multiplied like rabbits. My new privacy fence was deemed emotionally isolating to the collective consciousness. My choice of navy blue deck chairs was aggressively masculine and potentially triggering. When I installed security cameras after finding her meditating nude in my kayak at dawn, she filed a formal complaint about surveillance culture perpetuating shame-based paradigms. The woman had a gift for combining New Age nonsense with bureaucratic terrorism. Things escalated when she started showing up uninvited. I'd find her sitting cross-legged in my driveway at 6 o'clock in the morning, burning sage and chanting about rebalancing the property's aura. When I asked her to leave, she'd say in a wounded tone, "Shame is a colonial construct, Daniel. Your discomfort is just internalized oppression speaking." Then she'd hand me another citation for hostile energy emissions and glide away like some sort of administrative ghost. The morning of the incident, I was enjoying my coffee and watching a great blue heron fish near my dock when Patricia appeared at the edge of my property. She was wearing her signature floral robe and carrying what looked like a ceremonial staff topped with ribbons and bells. "Today is Lake Liberation Day," she announced with a gravitas of someone declaring war. "The water spirits have spoken to me in my dreams. They demand freedom from textile tyranny." I sat down my coffee very carefully and said in my calmest voice, "Patricia, you cannot swim naked at my dock. This is private property." Her face transformed into a mask of righteous fury. "Private property is violence," she shrieked. "You're gatekeeping Mother Gaia herself." That's when she dropped the staff, sprinted toward my dock, and made her dramatic, disrowing leap into the lake. While she splashed around doing what appeared to be interpretive dolphin movements, she pulled out a waterproof phone case from somewhere I preferred not to contemplate and dialed 911. Sheriff's Deputy Jake Hartman arrived 20 minutes later to find Patricia performing what she called revolutionary water ballet in the shallow water near my dock. She was completely naked except for a crown of lake weeds she'd fashioned. "Officer," she said with imperial dignity while treading water, "I need you to arrest this man for crimes against bodily autonomy." Deputy Hartman, who looked about 25 and deeply uncomfortable, cleared his throat. "Ma'am, are you intoxicated?" Patricia's response was to recite what sounded like beat poetry about water rights and spiritual sovereignty. When the deputy suggested she exit the lake and put on clothes, she splashed water in his direction and screamed, "You're enforcing clothing norms. That's fascism." She then tried to place him under citizen's arrest for perpetuating textile supremacy. The deputy looked at me with an expression that clearly said he didn't get paid enough for this. "Sir, is this your property?" I nodded. "And did you give this woman permission to swim here?" I shook my head. Patricia let out a banshee wail that sent 3 ducks flying. The situation might have ended there if not for Patricia's son, a 35-year-old crypto enthusiast, unfortunately named River Hartwell. River had been live streaming the entire event on social media under the title "My Mom vs. Lake Oppression." The video showed Patricia's nude aquatic protest, her confrontation with law enforcement, and her eventual removal from the water while wrapped in emergency blanket and still shouting about hydrofascism. Within 6 hours, the video had 83,000 views and had been picked up by several news aggregators. The viral video caught the attention of the county health board, who were very interested to learn that the HOA president had been conducting liberation swims at multiple private docks throughout Pine Ridge shores. Apparently, Patricia had been sneaking onto people's property for dawn swims for the better part of 3 years. She called it sharing the waters of community, but the county had other words for it, most of them involving the phrase criminal trespass. I wasn't the only victim. My neighbor Sandwin came forward with security footage of Patricia doing naked yoga on her boat at 5 in the morning. Tom and Maria Petrosky had photos of her conducting